Hi everybody, it's Nikki here and welcome to a bookish video. So this is actually the second time that I have filmed this video because unfortunately my editing program hates me, and after hours of editing the previous video that I filmed for this, it decided to corrupt it while saving. So yes, I need to find a new editing program. If you have any advice or anything, please leave them in the comment section down below. And if you've got any tips or anything, please let me know. Yes, it will have to do because I need to get this video out because I know how much you love this video. And also I love this video as well because we are talking about my Bookgammon TBR. So I use the game Backgammon to help me pick my prompts and decide which books I'm going to be reading for the month. So I won't be showing you the books that I did finish in the month of February, but I will talk about very quickly the books that I didn't get to finish in February. So the first one of those that I didn't finish was Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova. I was really hoping to get this finished because I know Fairy Loot, who did this edition, are offering the second book in the series at the beginning of March on their Fairy Trove, and I was kind of hoping to get this read so that I would know whether I wanted to purchase that other book or not, but I didn't get around to it. So yes, if I do love this, I'm just going to have to hope that the Fairy Trove still has the second book available, or I just have to buy a normal copy of the normal published book when I get round to wanting to read the second book. So it's a shame, but it's not the end of the world, so it's not too bad. And then I have Along Came a Spider by James Patterson. I just didn't get to it. One book that I am really upset that I didn't get to was A Vanishing of Griffins by S.A. Patrick. This is the sequel to A Darkness of Dragons, which I absolutely loved both times that I've read it. I reread it in January in preparation for this one coming out in February, and I didn't get to it. You know what? I was saving it for last and then ran out of time. It's what I always do. But I will be picking this up as soon as possible. So yes. And then the last one I didn't get to was Space Oddity by Christopher Edge, illustrated by Ben Mantle. I just didn't get around to it. I reckon I could have finished it pretty quickly if I had picked it up, but sadly I did not. So that was that. So these 4 books will be priority picks for the prompts that I get for March. So without any more waffling, let's get on to the gameplay. Let's remind ourselves of the categories. We have red for thriller, pink for contemporary, orange for classic, green for middle grade, yellow for graphic novels and manga, purple for non-fiction, and blue for fantasy sci-fi. We have our prompt cards here, which I will shuffle. Very badly, apparently. Okay. I always like to cut the pack as well. We have our 2 dice and our shaker. So roll number 1. A 1 and a 4. So we have a 1 and a 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a graphic novel, manga, and a thriller. So the thriller is a random number generator, and the graphic novel is from my TBR mug. Roll number 2. A 5 and a 4. So I'm going to do this one 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this one 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So a classic and a fantasy. So the classic has to have a shape on the cover or the spine, i.e. a circle, a triangle, a rectangle, something like that. And the fantasy is a buddy read. Right, that's you and me sorted, Charlotte. Roll number 3. A 2 and a 5. Okay, I'm going to do this one 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a middle grade, and this one 2. 1, 2, which is a thriller. So the thriller has to have a relationship in the title, so that's like daughter, mother, husband, wife, anything like that. And then the middle grade has to have a green cover. We've had this one before. Another 3 and 5. So I'm going to do this one 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is a contemporary, and this one 3. 1, 2, 3, which is a fantasy. So for the contemporary, we have to have a name in the title. So Jane, Elizabeth, Mark, Tom, I don't know. And then the fantasy has to have sprayed or decorated edges. Yes. Six and 2. Okay, I'm going to go 1, 2 onto middle grade, and then 6 with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a fantasy with this one. So for the middle grade, we need to read one with creature with a tail on the cover, and the fantasy is buzzword of the month. So I will find out what the buzzword for March is and pick a book based on that. Roll number 6. 1 and 3. Okay. Let's go for 1 to a contemporary, and then 1, 2, 3 for another fantasy. So for the contemporary we have a reread, and for the fantasy we have to read the newest purchase. I will have to check my list. And roll number 7. Ooh, 1 and 3. Okay. I'm gonna go 1 and 1, 2, 3. So we have a thriller and a middle grade. So for the thriller we need one with the prettiest cover, and for the middle grade we need to read the shortest on my TBR. Lovely. And I don't want to jinx this, but could this be our last roll? Ooh! Yes, we can get one of them home. So, I'm going to move this one 1, and then this one will go home. 1, 2, 3. So that one's home. So we need a classic. And so for the classic, we need to read our newest purchased. So we've got 2 newest purchased. And as there's only 1 piece on the board, we only roll 1 dice. We don't really need to, but let's do it anyway. There we go, we are home. Well, that was quick and easy. Thank you, TBR Game. So roll number 1, we got a graphic novel manga and a thriller. So the graphic novel manga was actually for my TBR mug. So I have my TBR mug here. It is from the Serpent and Dove thing on there, and it's just got random books on, so not generally graphic novels in here. So Let's quickly choose this one. And it is a middle grade, Skullduggery Pleasant by Derek Landy. So, before I get that one actually, the thriller was also a random number generator. So, we had them all this time. So for my thrillers, I have 40. However, I have read a few. So if the number that I pull has been read, then I will just go to the next one on the list that has not been read. So we have 40 there, so let's give it a shake. Number 10. So let's have a look. What number 10? Don't do this to me. Number 10, Labyrinth. 694 pages. I'm beginning to hate the random number generator prompt. Okay, I will go get those two books. The Skullduggery Pleasant and Labyrinth. And now I'll cry as well. Give me a moment. So here we have Skullduggery Pleasant, the dead famous bestseller apparently by Derek Landy. It says, meet Skullduggery Pleasant, detective, magician, warrior. Oh yes, and dead. So I don't know really what it's about. I got these quite cheaply from Books to Doors website. So yeah, I just kind of picked them up because they look kind of cool actually. So I will be reading that one. And then Labyrinth by Kate Moss. She's huge. This was in my try a chapter video that I did, and I was kind of hoping that the first chapter wasn't going to be that interesting so I could actually declutter this humongous book. However, that didn't happen. I actually quite enjoyed the first chapter and was intrigued by the first chapter. So I guess now we're reading the rest of the book. So yeah, this is basically following two timelines. We're following July 1209 with a 17-year-old girl given a mysterious book by her father, which he claims contains a secret of the True Grail. And then we're also following an Alice Tanner in July 2005 who discovers skeletons in a forgotten cave in the French Pyrenees. So I'm guessing that these two timelines are going to have something to do with each other. So I'm reading that. So that was the first prompt. For roll number 2, we had classic and fantasy. So for the classic, we needed to read a book with a shape on the cover or spine. So for that one, I went for Beauty and the Beast by Anna Sewell. And it's kind of got these stars on the spine. So I thought, well, a star is a shape. So yeah, this is a story. Bless me. This is a story about a horse and what happens to the horse. I believe that it's kind of set during the war. So she becomes, or he becomes, I don't know if it's a male or a female horse actually. The horse becomes a war horse basically. And it's just a story about a horse. So yeah, I guess I will find out more about the horse when I read the goddamn book. So that is that one. And for the fantasy, I I got Buddy Read. This one helps me out a lot because I would have had to read this anyway, whether I could fit it on the Bookgammon TBR or not, because me and Charlotte are reading the Soul Screamers series together. We are on to the second book, My Soul to Save, written by Rachel Vincent. We thoroughly enjoyed the first book. Spoilers for my wrap-up. So yeah, this book has banshees in it, and I am living for that because that is not something I've come across before, so I am thoroughly enjoying this so far. There's a particular character in here who my heart is his. It may not be, it depends. But yes, I'm loving the characters in these books so far. So yes, I got my Buddy Read sorted. I'm fine. I'm good. I'm good. On to roll number 3. We got a thriller and a middle grade. So for the thriller, I had to find a book with a relationship in the title. Now, funnily enough, I couldn't really find one. So I went with something that you kind of have to do before you can make a relationship, which is to go on a dream date. You see what I did there? I played with the prompt. So this is one of the point horror books. It's called Dream Date by Sinclair Smith, like that. And it says, Katie's worst nightmare has come true and she's in it. She's shy but pretty and she's dying to meet the perfect boy and fall in love. And one night when she's asleep, a boy walks into her dreams. So yeah, I like these. They're kind of quick and easy to read. I got given a bunch of these by a lady from the lunch club I used to run before lockdown cut us all off from each other. So yeah, I guess I'm reading this one this month. And and for the middle grade, I had to read a book with green on the cover, and I'm going to be reading The Monster Who Wasn't by T.C. Shelley. This was on my 5-star predictions for 2020, so it will be interesting to find out if I was correct in that or not. It says, I get kind of like the Hunchback of Notre Dame vibes with this cover, but it says, it's a well-known fact that fairies are born from a baby's first laugh, but very few people know that all monsters come from a person's last sigh. Well, nearly all of them. So yes, so I'm going to be reading this middle grade. For roll number 4, we got a contemporary and a fantasy. So for the contemporary, we needed to read a book with a name in the title, and I have plenty of those with my Mills and Boons. So these are the historical romance ones, and this is Jade by Ruth Langan. So yes, we've got a bit of an oriental theme there. San Francisco, 1867. Haunted by his sordid past as the notorious gunslinger in Nevada, Reverend Wade Weston had declared war against sin in the small town of Hanging Tree, Texas. He hadn't counted on the arrival of the exotic Jade Jewel, whose visions of building a pleasure palace threatened the peace of the community and whose person aroused in him passions that threatened to claim his immortal soul. These are historical romances, so it's not going to be that smutty, but hey, she's running a pleasure palace, so maybe a little bit more smut in this one than the other ones. But yes, we shall see, I suppose. And for the fantasy, we needed one with sprayed edges. Priority pick. So it has sprayed edges, and I wanted to read it for a very specific reason and didn't read it. So yeah, I will be reading Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova for that one. For roll number 5, we got another middle grade and another fantasy. So for the middle grade, we had to read a book with a creature with a tail on the cover. So for this one, don't come for me. I know a lot of people are not liking David Walliams much in the writing community at the moment. But this is The Beast of Buckingham Palace. I bought this before all that controversy came about, so I've been wanting to read it to see if I feel about his writing the way other people do. I want to make up my own opinion before I cancel him. So yeah, it says Britain, the future, the year is 2120. Prince Alfred, a sickly boy of 12, has never known life outside Buckingham Palace. Evil forces are at work and he must do battle with the king of the beasts, the Griffin. So, Griffin, tail. So yeah, I'll be reading this one for that prompt. And then for the fantasy, I had to figure out what the buzzword of the month was. Books with Lala does a buzzword thing every month. She used to do like little readathons and I used to take part in those. But this year she's decided she's just going to, it's all on her blog. I will try and leave a link to that down below if you're wanting to check it out. But basically she's picked one word or one thing per month that you kind of have to pick your books related to that word. And the buzzword for March was time. But would you believe it, out of all my books, not one of them had the word time in the title. So I went with the next best thing, and that was a clock. We went with a clock on the cover. So this is The Betrayals by Bridget Collins. Last year I read The Binding by her, and I built that book up so much in my head that when it came to reading it, unfortunately, it fell slightly short of what I imagined it to be. And I believe that my rating of it was badly affected by that. So I have no idea what this book is about. I haven't built it up in my head, it's just there. So I went to read this not knowing what's happening in it. I want to go into it blind, so I have no expectations and I can hopefully enjoy it for what it is. So yeah, I'll be reading The Betrayals by Bridget Collins. Hey, for roll number 6, it felt like we were doing the same prompts over and over again. We had a contemporary and another fantasy. So for the fantasy, the prompt was my newest purchase. And so for that one, I went with my last Fairy Loot book, which was Law by Alexander Bracken. Now, I kind of complained about this book in that video, but I kind of feel slightly validated because after watching a few people's unboxings, everybody was kind of disappointed that we'd lost the picture of Medusa on the front. Some people were okay with it, but the majority of the people that I watched did seem a little bit kind of put out that we'd lost the picture. But they all agreed that it kind of helped with the fact that you've got this beautiful spine, you've got that beautiful sprayed edges. The rest of the book really does kind of make up for the loss of Medusa on the front. But yeah, this is Hunt or Be Hunted, a story about gods, about a tournament where the gods are basically sent to the earth as mortals, and there's a challenge to kill the gods and seize their divine power and immortality. And one person or one character, I believe Law, has walked away from this life and is trying to live her own life and then is kind of dragged back into it, kind of thing. So yeah, I'll be reading this one. You have a precarious pile. And the contemporary was to do a reread. Well, this is not so much a reread, so much as finish that goddamn book, Nicola. And that is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. I started this last year but had to DNF with only 130 pages left because this sent me into a reading slump, because this is a hard-hitting contemporary and it really hit me hard and I struggled to deal with it. I knew it was hard-hitting, I knew it dealt with difficult issues. It deals with a college tutor taking advantage of a female student and the repercussions of that, I suppose. And it really did like hit me hard. So I had to put it down and try and recover from the reading slump it sent me into. So yeah, I am determined to finish it. I have got the audiobook for this. I'm not sure if I'm going to listen to the audiobook or just try and read a couple of pages a night, and try and like drag it over the whole month and just read a couple of pages at a time. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to finish the goddamn book. So technically it's a reread. It's a book that I've read before, but I just need to finish it. So I'm counting it as that. So that's that one. Roll number 7, we got a thriller and a middle grade. So for the thriller, I had to pick the one I thought had the prettiest cover. And I kind of went with this one because sprayed edges. It's the only one I have with sprayed edges. And I thought that was pretty, but also this cover. I mean, thrillers, pretty covers, really, do they? But this is The Taking of Annie Thorne by C.J. Tudor. I mean, we've got a newspaper cutout girl character there. Says, then one night my little sister went missing. Miraculously she came back, but wouldn't say what had happened, but she wasn't the same afterwards. Sometimes she scared me to death, but now there's an email arrives in my inbox. I know what happened to your sister. It's happening again. So yes, it's going to be very scary, very spooky. So quite looking forward to reading this one. And the middle grade prompt was to read the shortest one on my TBR. So funnily enough, it was this one. So priority pick. This one actually worked out as being the shortest one on my TBR. So this is Space Oddity by Christopher Edge, illustrated by Ben Mantle. So priority pick, I get to read this one. Final roll, we got One Piece Home, and then the last prompt was a classic, and that was to read my newest purchase, and it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This also has other stories, The Merry Men and Other Stories, and this written by R.L. Stevenson. So I did not realise that the man who wrote Treasure Island also wrote Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I am so excited because I love Treasure Island. I love it so much. Pirates, just my thing. So I am very excited for this one. So yeah, we have, University College of Ripon in York. I nearly went there. So yeah, sorry, it says with an introduction and notes by Tom Middleton from the University College of Ripon in York. And I was like, oh, I went there. Well, nearly went there. I got accepted, but I never actually ended up going. I got pregnant instead. It's a long story. But yeah, about 21 years worth of a long story. Anyway, stop waffling, Nicola. So yes, I will be reading Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with The Merry Men and Other Stories by R.L. Stevenson for that one. So that is it. That is all the books that I'm going to be reading. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 books for the month of March. Fingers crossed. Hang on. Fingers crossed I can do it this time. I haven't completed a TBR yet. But yeah, so that is it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.